Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magdalene Mysteries Part 2. And happy Friday the 13th. I just want to make sure that everything is working properly. We're here today on Friday the 13th for the second streaming of the Magdalene Mysteries Part 2. And I'm going to let you know where we're at with everything in just a second. Last week on Friday, we attempted to do the Magdalene Mysteries, and the stream was cut after only 8 minutes. And 8 is an auspicious number for us, so we'll take it. So, what happened was that I was recording the whole time. I spoke for 2.5 hours, and on my end, it showed that everything was fine. And so there was nothing, I had it checked out. There was nothing technological on this side. And so hopefully everything goes well today. It's so good to be here, and we have so much to talk about. This is Shannon Port, and I am the founder of the Art of the Feminine platform, Light Body Yoga, the Holy Descent Goddess Kabbalah, Divine Feminine Initiation System, and we'll be talking a little bit about that today. I just want to say that today, Mars is in Leo at 28 degrees in an exact square with Uranus in Taurus at 28 degrees. And so if you're feeling the Mars energy, a little heat, it's on. It is on. There's a lot happening on our planet. And I would even go as far to say that what we see happening right now is the culmination of everything that we have been talking about and working towards in our work here at Art of the Feminine. The title of our podcast today is The Techno-Feminine Age and the Telepathic Invasion of Eve's Holy Womb. The Techno-Feminine Age and the Telepathic Invasion of Eve's Holy Womb. So good to see you, and thank you. I'd love to hear from all of you today, whoever is able to tune in. If for any reason I sense that there's anything that the stream has shut off, if you can contact me, but I'll look down and try to if you keep the comments flowing, I'll be able to tell that people are still live and able to hear me. And yes, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe. Let me tell you that we will be here with the Magdalene Mysteries all summer, leading up to Magdalene's feast day. I can't even begin to tell you how much information we have here from Magdalene is present with us today. We'll tune in with Christ Sophia in the 7 directions, but we have so very much to talk about. I want to point out that back in January, when we started Holy Womanhood, number 1, we talked about the archetypes of 2025. And if you remember that, I spoke very strongly about what was coming in June 2025, and we're here. And everything is starting to pop, and there is more. The archetypes coming that will affect those in power are very serious, very real. The energy of Mars in Leo, direct at full force after a long retrograde in Cancer, squaring Uranus in the sign of the Earth, in the sign of the Mother, in the sign of Taurus and Venus. We have essentially the sun squaring Venus. On the positive aspect, I actually have this is I'll share a little personal. My sun is in Taurus at those degrees, my sun and my moon, and my ascendant is in Leo at 28 or 20, almost 28. So when Leo and Taurus square each other, it's the solar feminine in the heightened vibration. In the elevated vibration, it's the sun squaring Venus and activating, combusting that electrical current of the solar feminine. But in its undercurrent, in its lower evolved state, it's pure chaos, fire, and war hitting our planet. And so we talked about the return of the Roman Empire, the return of the fallen Mars force. So for those of you who have been with me since the beginning, you'll know that the platform of the Art of the Feminine podcast started with an archetype that we were given called the fallen Mars force or the fallen Mars impulse. All of the work we've done with the regeneration of healing in the new human sexual paradigm, all of the regeneration around the feminine is based on the reclamation of Mars and the power of Lilith that has been subverted and desecrated and inverted in that vibration. And so, what we're seeing now, we are in a Mars year. The numerology for this year is a number 9, which is Mars, and we also have Pisces in the North Node, or the North Node in Pisces, which is an 18 Lilith, reduces to 9 Mars, which is the 666 energy in its underbelly. So everything that's happening right now has to do with the intersection of war, technology, the fallen masculine, as well as the degraded feminine, and the telepathic invasion of the womb of the feminine. Now, when we speak of the womb esoterically or in mysticism, we're really we're speaking of it on many different levels. We're speaking of it as the underworld. We're of it as the dark waters, the subconscious realm, the those subtle inner planes of dark where everything, all the potential is held for creation. And so when that womb is telepathically invaded, which it has been, we are in a cycle of redeeming that telepathic invasion. But what's happening right now is that with the advanced tech and with the constant stimulation of social media and media, we have almost a unconscious impulse running the planet, meaning everything is mostly now about consumerism, celebrity, just the overt constant stream of the dragon current. And I'm going to be careful how I talk about that today, because I think that may have to do with what happened um in the last stream. But I wanted to make sure I have my Magdalene flowers in. We are dealing with a lot of humanity that is unconscious and allowing this masculine greed and dominance to rule the world. That is why we are here for the resurrection of the goddess and the holy feminine. And so I have a written goddess report that's 11 pages. And so that will be more methodical. We'll go through it. But I just want to take a moment to hit a couple things. So we'll do Christ Sophia in the 7 directions. Let me see, just one moment. I want to tell you also, and this will be interwoven, that the platform of holy descent, the goddess Kabbalah, is not of a particular religion. I want to be very clear about that. This magnum opus work that we worked on in the last half of 2024, which we brought into culmination, is the secret feminine doctrine. It is the translation of the entire system into the correspondences, the codes, the archetypes, and the symbols, along with their very specific practices, mantras, and specifically rituals. And what I want to say about spiritual work in this era. So I can see this is moving down here. I'm so happy to know that this is live and that it's working. So hello, beautiful souls. Let me see who's here. Ah, so nice to see. So nice to see all of you. This is what I want to say about spirituality in this age. Let's just take a moment with that. So, so I feel like everything's in a different place today. All right. So, with spirituality is everywhere now. It's everywhere. When we started Art of the Feminine, there was Art of the Feminine, no YouTube channels, no social media, nothing. For the first 10 years, it was just um, mouth to ear, meaning it was an oral tradition, and it came from with the stream came from within. It didn't come from it didn't come from other places. It didn't come from watching other people's work. It came from actually doing the work and giving birth. Art of the Feminine is a stream connected to the cosmic goddess stream that began to activate in myself as a child. And there are other points of activation on the planet, but this is a stream that was birthed and came into fruition through very specific events. And so it's connected inwardly. The sign of an inward practice, a genuine practice, is that you are a practitioner, not a follower, but a practitioner. When you're teaching a genuine spiritual stream that is the living current, there is a practice that is imprinted into your subconscious mind, and that practice hones you and calls you to the light every day, every night in your dream time, every morning when you wake up. And so, what I'm going to be doing, those people who practice with me, Goddess Kabbalah is the ultimate body of ritual. The Holy Descent of Inanna, that 8-week course was built on strictly on rituals, and we started with ritual and we ended with ritual. And I mean ritual that takes you to the well to drink the water. This is not mind knowledge. This is not reading books. This is not PowerPoints. This is real cellular activation. And for those of you who carry it within, you know that. You know this has to be alive within you. It's in everything you speak, it's in how you use your five senses, it's in how you see, it's in how you hear, it's in how you touch, it's in how you feel with your emotional body. It is in you. It is the descent of the goddess into you. We become her. And that is what holy descent is. While we go through that process, we do the dark, dark feminine regeneration to claim holy Lilith. Right now, with everything going on the planet, it is so obvious in this 18:9 that Lilith and the shadow masculine are fully in charge. And that until we activate the divine feminine, there is no answer. There is no solving. There is no peace talks. There is no, global summits. There's nothing without the divine feminine, which is the true balancing force. So if you're called to it, you must answer that call now and make sure it's within you. Make sure you live and breathe it. So I'm going to just talk about some of the rituals. I'm going to be sharing some in this series. As we talk, we'll be and then we'll go right into Techno-Feminine and Telepathic Invasion. As we meet on Fridays, and we'll be meeting every Friday until Magdalene's feast day. So make sure to join us 3 p.m. Eastern time here at Art of the Feminine. Subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already. I'm going to come back and put those links. I'm going to give 2 rituals today. So just let's tune in together. All right. So, the first, we have been doing I am in the 7 directions for a very long time. It was spontaneously given in one of the courses I was teaching way back, and it really ignited. So, I want you, if you follow my work, if you're part of this community, I really want you to know this. Thousands and thousands of people around the world work with I am in the 7 directions. We will also tune in with Christ Sophia in the 7 directions to call in Magdalene. We say, I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. And take a deep breath in. And then you hold it, you make an intention, and you exhale. And we seal it on the divine, spiritual, and physical planes with I am, I am. I know I am. I am, I am. I know I am. That simple mantra that, as you can see, you can really draw it out and make it last several minutes. That mantra, when done with the heart, unites the mind and the heart. It unites the sun and the earth and the moon. It unites spirit and matter, and it activates the Christ force within your heart. We would say the Christ Sophia force because it's a true balancing of the masculine and feminine. When we work with the number 7, we're working with the Star of David, which is the two interlocking triangles of fire and water, but then we're activating the 7th point within the heart. And so it's very, very powerful. The other ritual that I want to tell you today is, and this is a ritual I'm introducing today. We do it, and if you've studied with me, you know this one. Very, very important right now. And then this is a Magdalene. Let's call this the Magdalene ritual with Mother Earth. So every morning when you get up, when you awake, every single morning, the very first thing you do, you might have a cup of tea or do a couple things first, but the very first thing you do once you're up is you walk outside, regardless if it's winter, summer, spring, fall, and you take a huge inhale. You look up, you notice the nature around you. In my case, I've been living with 4 seasons for the past many, many years, even on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast now, where we have 4 perfect seasons. And so I watch the leaves on the trees every single day. I watch the sky. I watch where the sun is in the sky and notice it. But take that first breath, that first breathing in of the sunlight fluid, the Ruach Elohim, that current is the beginning of your day, and it connects you with nature from the very first outdoor breath. Do this every morning. It's so simple. This alone is a prayer. And then every evening before you go to bed, and this is a practice I've been doing for many, many years. The last thing that I do, and I'm asking you to do this, walk outside under the dark sky. It's different every night. Look up. I often, I really I do a little bit of yoga. I like to I do the crescent moon stretches, and I like to lengthen my spine and connect my spine. So if you have a couple things you do, but breathe. Breathe in and acknowledge the stars and the heavens, that they are a part of our everyday life on planet Earth. That when we take it in and say, "Yes, I am aware of you, and so therefore you can make contact with me." And then you take that into your dream time. And so every morning, the very first thing, walk out. I walk out barefoot, whether it's cold. If it's cold, I'll grab I'll have some little boots at the door if there's snow or rain, but walk out and breathe. The first morning air will tell you, the quality in the air will set your day. Okay. And then every night, look up at the black sky and honor it. This will make you a goddess practitioner. This is a Magdalene ritual, and we're going to call it the Magdalene ritual. She's naming it for her right now. So, okay. All right. Let's do Christ Sophia in the 7 directions, and then we'll start. The reason I want to do Christ Sophia is to call in Magdalene. So, just taking a moment, and then I have plenty to talk about, I promise. Okay. Is everybody here? Can you hear me? Yay. All right. So imagine that Magdalene is here right now because she is. And let me tell you, the energies that have been working against this stream are mighty. They are mighty. But the energy that runs this stream, I want to swear, but it is a mother. It is a mother. And she's not, she's invincible and infinite. And so with Christ Sophia, we're calling in the divine feminine that we've been working with for so long. Christ Sophia was the archetype of the inner mystery school of divine love, the activation of the feminine Christ, which is the platform and mantle of everything that we do here. We say, Christ Sophia, before me. Christ Sophia, behind me. Christ Sophia, at my left. Christ Sophia, at my right. Christ Sophia, above me. Christ Sophia, below me. Christ Sophia, unto me, sealed within my heart, infinitely connecting me with the cosmic core of the Great Mother's womb, the cosmic core of Mother Earth, and that deep, deep inner chamber in my heart. For that Trinity, we say, I am, I know I am. I know I am. And we carry that triple flame of fire, water, and air that is very much alive in the heart for Magdalene today. And so it's Friday the 13th. How perfect is, in fact, I believe that somebody said that. I think we got bumped last week so we could be here on Friday the 13th, especially with what's happening in the world right now. If you haven't checked your current events or your news, you can go do that when we get off. But we have what we predicted back in at the end of January is happening right now, and there's tremendous archetypes of Mars, fallen Mars, and tower energy that are going to be hitting some of the world leaders. I won't tell you how we get to that, but it's Kabbalistic and it's very real. And when these things happen in the middle of a Mars Uranus square, there's a lot moving. And so we move along with it and we move along with the mother. We move along with the feminine. So we move along with Mother Earth and Mother Moon and the great sun. So Friday the 13th represents a time when the feminine was annihilated by some of the patriarchal rulers. And I mean annihilated. We won't go into that today. It's something I'm going to be doing the Magdalene Mysteries every Friday and up until Magdalene's feast day. What I want to say as Holy Womanhood podcast and as the Goddess Report, it's for everyone, men and women. The Friday the 13th represents the time when that knowledge that was held by the true initiates was wiped out, suppressed, buried, hidden, and removed from the planet so that other powers could take its place. Now, we here don't specifically speak by name and we don't fight against the forces. That's not how the initiates work. That's not how the hierarchies work. In fact, it is very important to be very clear when you seek out spirituality in the world. The conspiracy world, which has infiltrated much of everything, if you dance with that energy, there is an archontic um, entity that runs that loop, and it's being handled and engineered. It is not pure. It dances with half truths, and so be it. And it does a certain amount of good for sure. But it's really important to understand that when the cellular activation is there, there is such a code of how we conduct ourselves and how, where we plant our attention. We have to stay with the work, the real work. And there has been, we said, a hijacking of the divine feminine wisdom. It's been intermixed and this admixture of what we call lust frequency, because there's a lust. It's like a lust for it's almost like for fame or for recognition. Even spiritual fame and recognition are one of the great. There is a stream coming in so strong right now. Just one moment. So, what's happening right now, this is what I'm being shown. What's happening right now is that there is a movement where those who are beyond that stream and who are ready to step beyond it are building in their capacity to do the great art on this planet. Be part of that wave, be part of that stream. And you might check things out, but also just sit with your power as you observe what's happening in the world. Don't get pulled into fear. Don't get pulled into conspiracy. It is so much more complex than anything I have ever heard talked about on any alternative spaces, even spiritual channels. The way the hierarchies work is so sophisticated. It's simple, but it's so sophisticated. And you have to have inner listening at all times and be aware of. We talked about when last week when we got shut down, we were talking about the word and receiving the inner word. That is Magdalene. That's Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus right now. You have to be able to receive and to listen. And that's why we're calling going outside every morning for that first breath and looking at the stars in the sky every night, the Magdalene ritual, because it's really important to attune to the cosmic and to attune to Mother Earth. So, okay, I'm going to look down and then we're going to dive in. Let me just do a quick review of what we're talking about. The Mars mysteries are on. So I also have Neptune and Saturn have now entered Aries. Huge sea change. Huge. Neptune and Saturn in Aries, the sign of Mars. Okay, so what does that tell us? Karma is on in Mars right now. We're regenerating Mars. And also Jupiter is in the sign of the mother. This is huge. That's what I saw. I'm just now realizing that's what I saw because she showed me the ocean and Jupiter. Oh, this is so good, is Lilith. We work with Jupiter as Lilith. This is a correspondence that we received 10 years ago, and it's slowly been built up. I actually have my my Lilith in Cancer, and it's square my Chiron in the sign of Mars. So I have the Moon Mars square, which is why we work here with the feminine Mars mysteries and the fallen Mars force. So this is just, it's all about being in be in your power right now and be in the work. It's exciting. This is not book knowledge. This is genuine feminine mysteries in the flesh. This is the archetype of the resurrected goddess. And so that's why we have to practice. The sign of a true spiritual stream is practitioners, not followers, not people who want more conspiracy and who are craving more and going crazy. It's true practitioners. And we practice here where we've been practicing here for that's what light body yoga is. That's what goddess Kabbalah. It's the genuine ritual for every stage of the feminine alchemy. So, okay. Yes, we also have Light Body Tantra and the Inner Mystery School and the Goddess Key. So all of that's held in the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, which I'm going to be opening next month for a whole year for new students for a whole year. Okay. All right. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. I know what I wanted to say. The artist. Okay. The artist, for all you artists, and we're all artists here. We're all priestesses and artists. The artist that knows. Okay, so the artist knows that a performance of a character or a painting requires integration. An actor doesn't read about the character and then just pop up on stage and start acting as that character. And I know I'm my background is in acting, and I worked as an actor. An actor doesn't read about a character and pop up on stage. They fully embody the genuine energetics and aura of the character through a process, a real practice. And so when you're preparing for a play or a role, you spend so much time working inwardly to really integrate. And then you do all these different physical rituals to understand what it feels like in your body to be that character, so that when you walk out, it's moving you. You aren't seeking it from your head. You can tell even on stage, a director can tell when an actor has just put it in their head. They're like a talking head, but when it's in your body, it's alive. And that's what this spiritual practice is. It's alive like nature, and it's beaming with the radiant sunlight fluid with spirit and matter, which is Venus and which is Magdalene. So Mary Magdalene is the archetype of the actual feminine alchemy. She is the platform of Art of the Feminine, the founder of Art of the Feminine and the Magdalene Magi, but also her archetype and her very being within us hold the feminine mysteries. That is why she was erased. And I'm not saying that some of the ignorance that erased her knew that, although in the next Magdalene Mysteries, part 3, I have a whole study on what really happened. So that will be next week. But it's the archontic impulse that creates this deep leaning towards the masculine force and towards the suppression of the holy feminine. Magdalene integrates through the process of regeneration of the dragon current within. That means the dragon force, and I'll say the sexual current. We try not to say it too much, but that is what it is. And therefore, you have to use it and there is this deep, deep overlay that said that to be spiritual, you move away from it, which is 100% false. I will say that right now. And the mysteries of holy relationships and holy, the holy feminine circuit of force require that we understand it because it's our Mars force. And if we just choose to, by putting a literalist view of the Virgin Mary onto the Mother of Christ, it showed all women that you can never attain this and have a child, because the mother of the child of the mother that had the Christ child was a virgin. And so that immediately sets that in off limits. That's not Then it's no longer to give possible to the Christic force through the womb, which is false. The work of Art of the Feminine and the fertility rituals are 100% about reclaiming that to give birth to the next race. The 6th race will come through the absolute profundity and the auspiciousness of conceiving a child. This is not a, a- an ordinary event. It is the miracle of creation which mirrors the power of God. And so that doesn't mean that every woman or every man will have children in this lifetime, and you don't have to even be worried about that as I'm talking about this. What it means is that that knowledge, you came from a womb and you were certainly conceived and had to spend time within the body of the woman. And so that process is the exact mirror of the Divine Mother. All of the work here has been about fertility and the fertility rituals that will be coming in the future to bring a human soul to earth. I want to say this: a human soul is in the image of the divine, the pentagram. We think of Leonardo's Vitruvian Man, and we always work with Vitruvian woman. This was an archetype that founded light body yoga. Way back in 2002, 2003, I had a huge series of dreams. I talk about it when I teach light body yoga about the pentagram and the overlay, and it was in the desert. And you think of Christ being tempted in the desert. All of these things are archetypal. And it was a series of dreams that continued on. And that's how light body yoga came. It came through genuine contact in order to bring that cosmic impulse, the feminine impulse, into 3D through this certain lineage and this certain body of work. So, a human soul, if you're bringing in a human soul, you're bringing in the capacity for God to walk this earth. I know I'm being intense, so let me just take a breath here. Because the human being is created in the image of God, the ability for a human to contain the only alchemy that bridges heaven and earth is held in the human. That's not even the angels. The angels work with the humans because the angels are not in physical form. We had to be physical in order to do this alchemy. We had to sacrifice and come in. Now, does this mean that every mother, every father, every child holds a high frequency? Sadly, it doesn't. And not even sadly, it's just the way it is. But in the future, it will be understood. It will just be known because it will be part of our collective. And that is the mission of this work here. Now, how does that affect people who aren't having children or who are doing the work of the priestess or the artist? Let me tell you, this is about perfume. It's about the scent. It's about the aura. If you hold the perfume of that wisdom, the divine scent which attracts the angels to you, you carry that knowledge and you carry that power on this earth. And you're giving it to everyone you meet. And you're blessing the earth wherever you go. And you're interfacing with nature when you walk out in the morning, when you walk out at night. It's huge. So let me just ask if there's anything specific. I work with a lot of women and in mentorships for many, many years now who have had many different relationships and may not end up getting married this time around. But every time you have a connection in love, you're activating that current. So it doesn't end in marriage and in having children for everyone, but you're doing a level of work. So anytime you desire another human being, you have you have longing and desire, and then you bring your hearts together and you begin to exchange. You create that loop, and you create a platform of alchemy. So make everything's sacred now. It doesn't mean if something fails or if it's awful or if it has a karmic lesson, bless it. Because trust me, it's those lessons that bring the gold. They turn lead into spiritual gold. So, okay. So the perfume, the scent. All right. So I'm gonna get going. All right. Okay, the telepathic invasion is happening through the Mars energy and through the 666 energy. The Temple of Isis, AI, we talked about the robots. This is all coming so big. There's a lot of pretend things happening in the world to distract because the big things are real. The big things are taking place right now. So stay focused. All right, let's do it. And I put here, yes, healing fertility is the Christ Sophia mysteries. How we get to earth is everything. The moments of conception are everything. In the future, that was what will make us a race of godlike beings. And I've had this experience in conceiving, preconception, and giving birth for this very reason. And there's much, 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 much I've learned that I don't speak publicly, but it's huge and it will be the way going forward. So, okay. The Venus initiations are the cellular integration. So this is Magdalene in the flesh. All right. Okay, let's go. See if I have any. All right, okay. Can somebody tell me, can you still hear me? Which is so insane. Good morning from Oz. Yay! Okay. Donna, Dana, nice to see you. Vess, Sandra, Bonnie, so nice to see you. You are so this. If you're, and there's a lot of people. So this is my friend who's just speaking right now. if you're a quiet one in this lifetime, or if you're doing a lot of deep work or work in dream time, you are in it. Do not, if you're a dreamer, look at your archetype. So one of the things we work with in Goddess Kabbalah, I just want you to know, Holy Descent of Inanna, is that we went so deep with looking at the archetypal codes. I mean, we really, piece it out and get down in it. When you understand what you carry, everything starts to make sense. And I just want to say, more than ever, in the name of Magdalene, everything is happening for a reason. Everything. And your life is being guided. Be tuned into that all the synchronicities. Oh my God, I can't even tell you the ones that have come in my life. I'm not ready to talk about them, but huge, many. Okay, so let's do this. Woman's body. We're going to go into a little bit of the holy womanhood work. If you're men, just hang with us because it's great. The number one reason, oh, this is big, that there is no medical research on woman is because if woman became aware of just how spiritual her holy temple is, if women, they will wake up. Think about, now this is not conspiratorial. I just want to be very serious. We don't join in any specific stream of that world. We're not alternative or truther. We are specifically about wisdom. And I just want to say, I know in the past like 8 years or so, or even more, it's gotten really kind of, everyone's a little bit um afraid to be associated with anything that seems to go that way, or they either want only that or they don't want any of that. We have to use the wisdom, and we're very discerning. I promise you, everything we do here is guided. There was times when we had to look into some things, but it became very apparent. So the thing about the female body is that it's such a miracle because it brings the soul to the planet. And so every process in the body, when we connect to it, it makes us go this route of spirituality. Not that we deny science. Science is amazing, and it will only continue to get more and more and more amazing. But when you all of a sudden know your body and what it is, it all of a sudden it activates that stream. It brings you back to almost paganism and the mysteries and the connection with earth and the fertility cycles in the seasons and in the zodiac. It attunes you to that. So now I'm not saying that any specific person or anyone is trying to do this, but it's just the consciousness on our earth. We see it as a commodity and not as a spiritual platform, the woman. And it's because religion went much, 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 much. We see the men up there in the robes, the gowns, the hats, preaching, holding God, and we see the women bowing to it. That's okay. There's a certain archetype being played out between the magician and the high priestess there, but we here are ready to activate the empress. This that's Venus, and that's what my archetype here is, the holy empress, and that she's the archetype of art of the feminine. So now some of the feminism today has gone to a point where it becomes the exact opposite. And it was just a pushback to say, like, look, I'm not my body. I don't have to have a child, or I don't have. There was a time when that was really needed because it was such a it was like the line of just going from this to this to this to this without ever questioning it. And what happened is the divine feminine energy in the women that needed to be developed intellectually on a scholarly level, scientific level, on a deep, deep inner exploration level, was being overridden by just nothing but breeding, or nothing but marriage, being stuck in a marriage forever, even if it wasn't the right one, due to all the stigma around, and also maybe even marrying the first person that you desire because you're afraid of that current and you don't want to test it out, or you don't want to have any relations. Now we could have religious people could have the argument around why that is, but I would say in this era, we need to we educate women to get to know things a little more, rather than just being naive, and rather just doing what they think is expected of them. That is very, very important, because buried within the woman is a knowledge that has to come to fruition. And if every woman had continued to only go down that path, it would be subverted. It wouldn't be known. So Okay, the female brings God to earth. The child is the platform of the angels. We just said that. So when you have a child, the angels come. Now, this is also true of a spiritual system. We have all our 13 realms guiding and protecting us here. We in Goddess Kabbalah, we have Eve's 13 sphere of life with all the angels, and the orders of the hierarchies are here. They have come through this stream and they are protecting it and working through it. So if you create something, you also magnetize the angelic beings. There's all different levels. If you plant a garden, the angels come, and so do the fairies and the gnomes and the fire elements. The simple act of interfacing with nature and planting, it's just every time we interact with flowers and anything rooted into the earth, even this simple, most simple thing, where the angels come to us. So I want you to start to think of yourself as a frequency. Magdalene is a frequency, and she's the frequency of harmonizing Lilith. We say Lilith and Eve, but Lilith and Mother Mary. So without Lilith, we're cut off from the waist down. And there's all the spirituality that has just promoted that. And there is a very sacred, peaceful, humble, pure energy about that, but it's missing huge. It is why Mars has not regenerated. We have to understand power. We have to understand how to run it. We have to understand pleasure and desire and how we connect our earthly desire to the heavens because it's needed. Now, there may be a lifetime where you have a lifetime, let's say in a convent or in a monastery or just living completely alone where there's no interaction with everyone. That's not to say that that's not valid at all. But in the projecting of that into the collective, it's incorrect. So so spiritual platforms are a magnetizer to the angels, but also great works of art. So the artist. That's why when we look at art, we're just like, like when you look at real art or when you're in a space that holds art, it's not that every artist was perfect. Many of them have all kinds of crazy things, but that act of divine union of allowing those, because when you create real art, you're activating the tree of life. You start to bring in all the different planetary impulses and angels to do the different things in the art, whether it's painting or sculpting or creating music or hearing the music of the spheres through the tree of life. You're calling in the angels. And so that's why art is really sacred. And, we're in a place where a lot of art is archontic art, meaning it's just summoning up the lower forces. It's fine. That's the way it goes. Sometimes we see it tips a little bit too much into that arena, but let me just talk about art right now. One moment. Something wants to come in. All right. So I want to say that in this work, we have talked about and sometimes really taken a real look, a mature look at some things that are happening in Hollywood or in the music business or, in the media and social media with the influencer world. All of that is really valid to look at, especially with the telepathic invasion of Eve's womb. That is what that is. So when it tips too much to the underworld side, we start to get heavy and sink. It's the sinking soul deeper and deeper into the lower lunar realms where all the entities are. So we don't necessarily fight that. We just are aware of it with wisdom. We don't even condemn when people get caught up in it. Sometimes the soul really has to go through that and be a puppet for a lower force. And there are some groups that really engineer it and handle it and create that, but it's not everyone. You have to be really, really careful because there are women on this planet doing work that if you just judge by the outer, you will not understand what they're doing. There are certain artists, there are certain female musicians that carry a current that is connected, and it is connected. It's connected to the bottom and the top, and they're creating a blueprint that's part of paving the path for what we're moving towards. And so the thing I see all over the place, and I try, I'm really careful now about not taking in too much of it now, but the condemnation Random condemnation through a conspiracy lens, that is void of wisdom because the feminine hierarchies will not touch that. I guarantee it. Because when you start to work at a higher level, and I've got to experience that in my work, you get burned. Meaning if you walk in the wrong direction, it just goes off. And there's a book I'm going to be working with, which is from my soulmate, who is a writer on Earth going back a couple hundred years, that speaks to this very powerfully. That when you're on the spiritual path, your words and what you put into the world are everything. A real teacher, let's say that, or someone who holds a real stream will be so aware of what forces come and of what they're attracting through an audience. It's impossible to have everything be pure. You're always going to have a certain percentage, but when the overall percentage is ignorance and thinking that spirituality is just hearing about things over and over and not having a real practice, that's something you can set aside. You want to move towards the genuine, and it has to be heart based. Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, is the heart. She is the holy bride of the Christ. In other words, the Christ force, the true Christ force, and this is some of the wisdom known, has a spiritual operation that requires the holy bride. And it's very real, whether it's archetypal or whether it is the literal. It's very real. Doesn't mean one has to know this and understand it. Not right now. Those who held the real wisdom called the outer stream the literalist stream, meaning that a certain population of the consciousness had to have the literal stream because the digesting of the deeper truths would stimulate the archons. And I'm going to explain why. Wisdom is like the dragon current. It's like there's a certain energy, it's the snake. And it can operate with lust or it can operate as the Christ force. So what happens is when let's say I'm just using this language so that I paint the picture. When the uninitiated start diving into wisdom, when there hasn't been any genuine initiation in the lived experience. Now, sometimes a high level soul is born and they may be coming in to do work. So there's always that exception, but you'll know that. So when someone has done, we work here, Mary Magdalene is the 8th house mysteries. It's the deep mysteries of regeneration. That requires that we roll up our sleeves and that we get in there with our heart. That is not one where you can bypass the heart. You have to know what it is to love and to love very deeply. You have to understand what it is, why the heart of Eve has been shattered. And we only learn about that when we're in it. And that's why so many men and women who come to this work hold that stream. And it's such an honor. I'm going to take a peek down, make sure, is everybody here? Can you hear me? Okay, people are on. Yay. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you can. Okay. Um, And some people are at a stage where they've gone through a certain harmony and love, and now they're emanating it into the world. You understand? And some of you are, there's so many beautiful paths here, working with children and observing the sacredness of children, the purity, the godlikeness, because there's people that work here that come here that are one amazing soul has a beautiful spiritual school that has been launched that is so powerful. When you hold the wisdom and you interact with children, there's a lot of really beautiful teachers around here and at all levels, from grade school all the way up into college and graduate school. So when you hold the wisdom and you're interfacing with them, that is an initiation, and that is them receiving the energy of your aura, because your aura holds it. It is Magdalene. It's the woman, the feminine Christ that came in to purify the 7 churches or the 7 great vortices by allowing that current to go through each one and to teach her. And this is the holy descent. This is holy descent in Goddess Kabbalah, but in a really, really like huge way, because not only do we do that alchemy, but we're doing the whole tree of life with the 13 spheres of Eve. So, and her 13 warrior goddesses. So there's that, and then there's creating art. You're interfacing with the world, meaning if you infuse your work with this wisdom, it's in the world. But I want to go back to lust, frequency, and wisdom, how it gets intertwined. So sometimes the current of wisdom is seduced by lust frequency. And this is a very, very real phenomena. And it's the one that is most warned about to those on the spiritual path who start to become teachers. And it is and we're going to bring this in when I bring in some of this work. It's the desire for spiritual fame. It's when there's a certain inner shadow that wants fame. And so that the wisdom is tainted with lust frequency. And it's the thing and that's why spirituality had to first go into the monasteries. That's why woman first had to separate from and become the literal virgin, because it took a while to understand what it means to hold purity so that you could go back and now bring purity to the banquet table, which is what we call the sexual act in light body tantra. We call it the banquet table because it magnetizes these forces. And so the key here is understanding the power of the heart. Without a regenerated heart, that current is always up for grabs. It could go to the wisdom side or the lust side. But when the heart has been purified in the 8th house mysteries, it's smack. It whirls in the center, and it connects with all the cosmic forces. So what this means is that until we've gone through the humbling experiences, whether they were in our childhood, whether they were in our teenage years, our 20s, 30s, and beyond. And some of us have hit those mysteries and initiations from conception and from the day we took our first breath. Oftentimes, the Magdalene lineage, you recognize the Magdalene lineage because these are people who have carried it. These are not people who got it from books or from other people. They own it because they carry it. They've tasted it. They have drank from that well of suffering over and over. And it's not to glorify that, but it's just to say there is a humbling that happens where the human condition that was so drenched in the fight or flight, in the and just being the exploitation. And so what happens, if you know psychology, when someone's exploited over and over, the bounce back can be that they carry out the very thing that was done to them. So what happens is that because of these hidden forces that make the human condition hard, they operate through human beings, and then we become that very force. And we spiritualize that force, and we think it's the true wisdom. The true wisdom walks with the heart that has been humbled and that has the capacity for deep, deep love, the love of the Christ. That love can no longer be triggered unless there's something that needs to be addressed, but it doesn't live day to day in that state of, ooh, what's going on, even though we look hard, but it knows the truth of what we are doing here, why we are here. This is Magdalene, and Magdalene represents that divine feminine woman, that feminine counterpart to the Christ Jesus that was known in all the true let's say some of the true Gnostic traditions and some of the Essene traditions and some of the earlier esoteric Christianity streams that were very much, um, at that certain council, everything was gone through and it was a picking and choosing of what will go in, and that stuff was let go, it was released. And it was also the reason that we had Friday the 13th. There's lots of myths. I wanna say when it comes to Mary Magdalene, there's lots of myths, legends, and even false make-believe stories everywhere, and that's okay. The collective imagination needs her archetype. Let it happen. Let her be everywhere. Let her be on everyone's lips. Let Magdalene be so alive that you can think of her as you wish, and she will come into you. But her true mysteries are that of regeneration and love, and it is through her that, first of all, she's what brought in the number 13. If you know this work, we've been working with 13 since we first started Art of the Feminine, and the 13 sphere tree of life is Magdalene's. The 13 is the feminine tree of Eve. She becomes the new Eve. She becomes the woman that has both power and purity and pleasure and desire, holy desire. The desire to mix the flesh with the heart, with the soul, are the trinity of union and a very beautiful thing. It's just that we haven't had the right archetypes to show us this. That's what the work at Art of the Feminine is meant to be. So, just so at one, so that work is the platform of the angelics. When we work in that field, when we walk out every morning and take that first breath, when we look up at the sky at night, when we say, "I am before me, behind me, my left, right, above me, below me, and unto me," they come. That is how you call them in. Every planetary body holds a force. And when you're in the right state of mind, they will work with you and through you. And that is how we activate the word, the lost word. Okay. So, all right, we're going to get into the good stuff now. Okay. The divine, okay. The female, okay, the divine mother is the whole, I missed this. 1 second. The female brings God to earth. The child is the platform of the angels, the tree of life. When you give birth to a child, you're birthing the literal tree of life. That is the most holy thing that could, that's how God gets here. Put it that way. God gets here through other things we can manifest, but the human being is the archetype of the risen pentagram of the Christ force. That's why we say in certain spiritual scriptures that the human is so privileged and needs to understand its privilege and its place in creation, because all of creation is looking to us. Even the heavens look to the human, especially the one who's awake. Um, the tree of life, birthing a child is the most divine act that is a direct mirror of the divine mother. It is the holy of holy that has been played down. But not only that, the sexual act that creates new life is also the holy of holies and mirrors the relationship between the cosmic masculine and the cosmic feminine. This act is the doorway, the biggest doorway that exists. And it was stripped from the teachings by making the mother of Christ a literal virgin. There is no man born unto woman without this act of union. I said of the egg and the spermatozoa. So it does, we can bow to the archetype of the Virgin Mother as the mother of Christ, because in the mysteries that is exactly what she is. And we can talk about how there was a time you sometimes, I mean, I remember a few years ago hearing, and this is a big thing right now where people are talking about Lemuria and Atlantis and a time when we could birth. That was a time when we were not yet the God man. We were not yet in physical form. We had to come all the way in. Now we fell, we reached the apex, and then we went below it. But even in the apex, there was a different kind of fertility, but it still required fertility. And so just one moment. Make sure we're really aligned with this. The Virgin Mother, And that's why I wore white today. That's why I wanted to wear white again for Magdalene, even though oftentimes with Magdalene we wear red and black, because we become the virgin and give birth to the Virgin Sophia as we activate the eighth house mysteries. The phoenix rising is the birth of the virgin. It's the born again virgin, which I like to refer to a lot. It's just fun. So that phoenix rising is the spiritual body that was birthed out of the deep furnace of Lilith and the dark feminine and the dark mother and Pluto. So let's talk Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius, and Pluto is the archetype of the eighth house mysteries. Pluto, I'm so happy to see that everyone's still on. Pluto is the the depth of hell. It's the depth of power, and we have to go through the Pluto realms. On the tree, Pluto works at Doth, and we do not ever go past that until we have completed the Pluto mysteries, which are the eighth house mysteries. They require that we understand love, not only internal love, not only love of the divine, but the love of another human being. It doesn't mean we have that every lifetime, but every lifetime is aiming to teach us this, because it was through the connection of two that the third principle is birthed. We also have the two within, but there is a profundity. We would not see what we're seeing in the world today at all, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's what's happening right now. We would not see such overt gaslighting, I want to say, if this principle was understood. It's because it's been separated that that other powers have taken over and robbed people of wisdom. Now, we always say that in this world, it's required that there's a lot of dark comes on the planet. So we're not Pollyanna. We're not trying to say that everything should be perfect and pure and pristine, because in the process of awakening, we go through Pluto. But I just want to paint that picture that as we understand this, as leaders from the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, my 2-year school, begin to step forward onto the planet to speak and talk of these things, there will be a new feminine platform birthing. This is the age of Sophia. This is the age of the cosmic feminine. And that means that the mother principle will be very well understood, including the Holy Spirit. But that realm that was completely lost will be understood not in a matriarchal way, but in a sacred union way, that we work together and that we know how to teach and we know what to do. We have to know what to do. You can't just expect that you're going to go out and solve problems unless you know what to do. The wisdom teaches you what to do and how to do it. And it teaches you how to be connected to the vertical plane. So, okay. So the virgin, we become virgin through alchemy. And yeah, the archetype of the virgin is always put on the mother of Christ, though, to show that she is a woman who has gone through that process. That is her seal. That is her archetype. She carries that seal in her aura, and those seals are very real, by the way. We work with the 7 seals of Magdalene, with the 7 goddess sacraments. They're very real. When you carry a seal, you know who else carries that seal. The seals you don't have, you cannot yet see. But as you're privy, as you carry a seal, to know who else has the seal, because it's in the it's in the aura, it's on the inner. And the reason we don't see the seals of those who are a step above us is because we don't have the capacity to understand it yet. So, just one moment. Magdalene carries the 7 seals of the Holy Feminine, and those are the seals that completely give birth to the Virgin. And so that is how we become the virgin, because our physical body has become has been become transmuted of the admixtures and the the underworld, and that is not by avoiding life. It's not by avoiding anything, it's by going into it. There's times we step out, and we have spiritual practices for sure. But until you've experienced certain things, you don't know what they hold. And when you have spiritual teachers that are trying to teach things and they don't really understand, remember, understanding is Binah on the tree of life. It's the divine mother. You don't have a right to teach something until you know it. That's what gnosis is. That means when you know it, you've been put through the ringer and you've had to be humbled until you can't see straight over and over. Then and only then does the word rise from you where you're supported and backed up in teaching something. It's coming from what we call knowledge. And guess who rules knowledge on the tree of life? Pluto. The sphere of knowledge is doth, and that means we only gain knowledge through those mysteries. Only. When we say hijacking the feminine mysteries, there was an attempt to bypass them. And that's what makes us condemn humanity and then attack humanity. We need to do the exact opposite. Okay, I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to shift out of this. All right. The feminine mysteries are held in the Magdalene and in human love. Magdalene holds the key to the divine Sophia. The patriarchal religions made her archetype shameful. She is desire, passion, and human divine love. I want to say this, and this is why we have to be very careful with art, even though we talk freely about what's happening sometimes in show business in the industry, which I've been very much a part of, and I know it from the inside. But I want to say that art is where the dark is allowed to be. We don't try to take the dark out of art. That would be a purist society where the patriarchal forces are now in charge again. That's what happened in Rome in the 3rd century. That's not what we do. If there's any place where dark can be expressed, it's in art. Think Greek tragedies, think Shakespeare. Great artists understand the archetypes. And it's in our current culture, it's gimmicky. It's everywhere. And part of that, when you sense the undercurrent of it, the lust frequency, yeah, it's real. There's some people that are genuinely programmed and need help, and it's a very sad situation, but that's not everybody. There are also some powerful people coming out with the dark archetypes that know exactly what they're showing, and there's a reason for that, because if we go to and Dion Fortune talked about this, she said, "If you try to only go towards purity, it will become so lopsided that the dark will end up taking over. If you don't integrate the dark and allow it to be seen, then those forces will rise up so hard and so fast that even after you reach the state of 100% purity, they will wipe it out." The work was never to avoid it, but to understand how to balance it within the container, and this is the Magdalene. They removed the knowledge of Sophia as the temple of love, conception, birth, by saying woman only cannot birth the Christ. A real woman, a regular woman could not birth the Christ, meaning a woman who had had relations. The virgin is the purified, oh, I love this. The virgin is the purified act itself. I'm going to say that again. This is big. This is for the Magdalene Mysteries, part 2. This is how we beat the telepathic invasion of Eve's womb and the Techno-Feminine. The virgin is the purified dragon current or act, the sexual act, and the holy heart in union, not the literal virgin who has no relations. The virgin is the purified act itself. In spirituality, the Holy Spirit is that act. That's why we say woman is that act. And she is the guardian of it, because within her, it leads to the birthing of the pentagram, of the tree of life. It comes through woman. And so It's up to woman to heal her heart because her heart has gone through deep, deep wounding. We talk about the feminine wounds here and the collective feminine wound. What happens is that, and this is Scorpio, when the woman has been stripped of power, when she's degraded her own power and denied it and gone too far in the other direction, whether it was too pure or too lustful, either way can do it. The resentment starts to build within, and the pain and sorrow and the exploitation becomes perpetual on and on. That's what has happened with the feminine, and it's birthed into the children. And so then everyone's born feeling like a victim. When that act is purified, and it's up to woman to purify it all the way. This is the weight that she carries. And it's different than what's taught in the religions. Even the esoteric religions that were run by men did not carry it like this, and there's more we will be talking more about that. Some of the men that were running these, God bless everyone, were all contributing, had a lot of secrets around the feminine, and we're not about that here, but it's just to be understood that the female containers had to be recognized and they had to rise up and have a real voice. Some of the women also in the past, and I've talked about how I'm connected to a woman who is not actually of this vibration I'm talking about. In Light Body Woman, we talk about the female soul as the Mars Venus soul. Half of the women in the female soul group have Mars energy and half have Venus. And it's these women have been pitted against each other. This came directly from the Temple of Isis when from back in 2009 when I started teaching Light Body Woman really deeply, how the female soul group has been splintered and how it's caused great competition, jealousy, envy, betrayal, and deceit between the female soul group, the Venus side and the Mars side, when they are meant to work together. The Venus side of that soul group holds more of the suffering side. The Mars holds more of the power in the physical world, and it's the more masculine side of the female soul group, but the Venus side will be the last to rise, and the Venus side has carried the cross. That's why we call Holy Descent of Inanna, which will be available in here, the feminine crucifixion, because it's all about the feminine regeneration through these mysteries on the astral level, the heart. So when that dragon current, now this can be done with any partner, any sexual orientation. You know, we always say there's a specific work between a male and female vehicle for many reasons, but in different lifetimes, there may be a different orientation. Anyone who has love in their heart and love for another human being, and they're activating it with the desire force, is privy to do this work to where you understand it's okay to understand desire and pleasure and a little bit of lust, we say, but marry it to love and wisdom and truth, and your world will explode into something new. And if you're putting that current in that alchemy into your work every day, your art, your teaching, your interfacing, your healing. If you're healing, there's a lot of people here healing love that have been through a lot. And there's some of you who have great victories. I see some of you who have tremendous victories in love. It's so powerful when you see that, when you know someone's been on it for a while and they've risen and they're being rewarded with something really, really high frequency. So Magdalene held Lilith as her power. So I just wanted to leave on that note that the dragon current is the Holy Spirit rising. It's the birth of the spiritual body. It has to work through the alchemy of that current. Has to. We have to have a Magdalene and a Christ. Magdalene held Lilith as her power of Jupiter. And I already said this has been given to us directly in Divine Feminine Kabbalah, which is the reclamation of the feminine archetypes, the esoteric codes of the secret feminine doctrine. It is a must experience for woman in the collective. So that what this means, Jupiter mystically is love. On the tree of life, Jupiter is chesed, and it represents love or divine love or creativity or the it's the portal into manifestation. Jupiter is a manifesting energy, and so we correspond Lilith with that manifesting energy regenerated to her proper place. The power to regenerate through the forces of nature. I will say that again. Lilith, Lilith is the power to regenerate the heart and run the forces of nature as Magdalene, the 7 great Elohim currents running through the female vehicle or through the subconscious mind, which is the female vehicle as well. These are the great temples of the great powers, and it is Lilith that regenerates this. She regenerates the lower, well, let me see how I should say that. She transmutes, purifies, and then separates from, this is the feminine alchemy, from the lower energies on the dark side of the moon, and then integrates those feminine waters. We work, the North Node is in Pisces right now, and we say that Pisces is Lilith. So we have these energies on the planet right now working. So what this is all pointing to with Magdalene is that we have to do the alchemy. There's no energy that is going to stop what's happening until people take it on and decide that if you want to have Mars, if you want a strong army, if you want a strong male force, you have to integrate your Lilith and purify that current and raise it into Jupiter as the heart. And then you get the true creative force. So every woman, I put all women need to understand this archetype of power, creativity, and regeneration of their dark side. Let me say something in spirituality. So men carry, the fallen male side is greed, and it can be lust. It's greed and power. The fallen feminine side is vengeance. And what's the other word? It's vengeance. The female has vengeance. That's Lilith. She wants revenge. And so deep in every woman, there's this feeling of I'm raging. I'm mad. I've been betrayed, and I want vengeance. So when we go into our shadow, we start to act from that place. And then that can also come back into low self-worth. It can break down into low self-worth. But these energies have to heal. And so when we heal, the Lilith vengeance energy is operating through the fallen Mars force. That's vengeance. And that's going out, and that's the war energy. So the females heal that secretively. We don't even need permission to do it. When we do it, we're changing the world. We're changing what's happening in the outer world. Okay, not all women will marry. Certainly not all women will bear children in this lifetime. Some will choose celibacy for the right reason, if it is divinely ordered for their lifetime, but they won't be thinking that celibacy is needed for ascension. In fact, the opposite is true to pass the gates of hell, the Pluto gates. The Pluto portal, one must purify the holy dragon current. I recommend listening to the Holy Womanhood podcast #1, where I'm wearing orange, and that we talk about the archetypes of fallen Mars and of Lilith and how they're deeply on this year. Okay, Magdalene was the prostitute for a reason. Patriarchy wanted her to be. They stripped her of her role as the bride, the real bride, and took the bride as being the physical church as opposed to the spiritual church of the feminine. Look up okay. I put look up something. I'm going to bring that in the next video. I have another huge document. She is Lilith. She is the subconscious mind, the dark moon. Huge. The moon in the mysteries is the subconscious mind. Lilith is the dark hidden realms where all the entities live. The unhealed, unconscious feminine, the demons, the addictions, the compulsions, the 666 Venus energy, which equals 18, which is Pisces, and where our North Node. So I also want to say that the full moon we just had, the full strawberry moon, lowest moon in 2 decades. It was in Sagittarius near the galactic core. that moon was squaring the nodes. And look what's happening in the planet right now. We have some things breaking out right now very seriously. That full moon hit the nodes hard. It hit Lilith. It hit the war energy that we're on. It hit the number 9. The female initiates must carry Lilith in this age and move through her, not by abstaining, but by transmuting and activating the heart, which is the balance of the astral plane of masculine and feminine. That is the great work of this work. So you hear the word heart a lot, but what does heart mean? What does it mean to activate the heart? It means you know what love is. How do we know if someone knows what love is? We know them by their fruits, how they speak, the actions they take, their relationships, how they show up, the sincerity, the lack of fear, because the opposite is a lot of fear, being suspicious and fearful of everything. And a lot of the like alternative sides of things promote so much fear. A lot of the people talking about all this stuff aren't carrying love. Love is a real energy. It's in the field, and it comes from having tasted the opposite of love so deeply that you could only go in that direction. And it doesn't run away from power, because even real love has real power. It's not afraid to say no. It's not afraid to have a good boundary, but it's done with wisdom. And that's the sign of love. And that's what, without Magdalene, we don't have that kind of love. The fallen Mars force, the fallen divine impulse of passion, desire, and ultimately the dragon current, took over the feminine moon realm of Lilith to control the feminine with the lower impulse and create the lower Eden. Here, Eve's womb became the playground of the dark forces, no longer connected to the tree of life and the vertical plane. The lower mind, it was of the lower mind. 18:9 lodged the lower mind lodged above the womb. Even in the human body, in the solar plexus, there's a lower egoic mind right above the womb that keeps it captive and prevents it from fully activating through the heart. But I have some really good things to share. Oh, I got to write this down. All right, I'm going to post it on Facebook and Instagram at Art of the Feminine. Okay, just one second. I want to write this down because okay. All right. The mother holds a part of her child in her body for all eternity. And so it is so important to connect the womb to the heart, because there is a process, and that is what we work with here, that is so important in fertility. And it's the claiming of Eve and the upper garden. The upper garden is Eve. And it's her regenerated form and her regenerated knowledge that works through the heart. Now, a lot of the previous streams of wisdom, regardless, were of the mind, and they were so lodged in the masculine mind, they didn't know what they didn't know. You can do all kinds of tricks with mind knowledge in spiritual teachings and delight yourself and impress yourself. But until you hold the heart, you don't know with a capital K. Knowledge is of Pluto, and it requires certain work. And that's where the feminine comes in. And that's where Magdalene comes in. If you understand what I'm saying. So the females hold a very specific spiritual work. And because they were seen as fans and adorers of the masculine teachers, um, students of, sometimes equals, but still there was this little bit of arrogance. They were also commodified sometimes, like and used in a convenient way for pleasure and to get what was needed for that time to lift the teacher up. But until the woman can stand up and say, I speak from her, as her. We don't know the truth because that wisdom is inside the female. And obviously, we all carry male and female. I'm not trying to say that we don't, but because of the way we are in this realm right now as male and female, the female has to activate. There's no way around it. And that's what's happening right now. That's what we're here to do. Okay, so the womb was taken over. It's the lower moon realm, and then I'm telling you, with the alchemy we did this fall was amazing. We here, okay, the woman and dominated here. We hold the myths of where the myths of the lower gods mating with woman. Oh, I talked about the myths of the lower gods. I wrote this a few weeks ago. Okay. This is the realm of lust and desire that no longer receives the Christic force or the impulse in Eve, and her children play a price. The sun is cut off except for the brief pathway of conception. This creates the wheel of reincarnation and the lower zodiac, the animal zodiac, of Lilith and the divine. Okay, and then I just said that divine feminine astrology was brought in over the past couple decades to redeem that energy. It's a solar feminine astrology. Lilith is the last sign. Okay, this is really great because Lilith is Magdalene. Lilith is the last sign. She is Pisces. She is the magnum opus of the great work of the purification of Jupiter and Neptune in the dark realm. This correspondence has been given, and we've talked about that. The Christ Sophia united with her cosmic Christ. So, and also the number 8, we talk about as being the Hebrew letter Tet, which is the snake. So when we think of 18, we think of 1, 8. That means that the 8 is active through the magician, through the 1, through the focus. And so when we're looking at Pisces and the house of Lilith in the 12th house, we're looking at that great work of being able to run Lilith through the Christ force, run her power and resurrect it. That's what Holy Descent is about. And it carries some really beautiful archetypes. I'm just thinking if there was anything else. Those are the lunar feminine mysteries or the moon mysteries of holy womanhood. And the past year we spent talking about Lilith and Eve and the lunar feminine, the dark side of the moon, as well as Eve and that work. So just going to see if there's any questions. Okay. And then I come in with, okay, our word is the solar force. So when we go through this, we begin to speak. The stream finds us and works through us. It's the integration and the synthesis of spirit and matter, and it carries the solar force. We talked about this last week, and it's formed from the invisible sunlight fluid. So the sun, the reason we call the sun the logos or the word, and we call the Christ the logos and the word or the verbum, is because that fluid, that energy allows us to speak. So, what makes the human different from the animal kingdom is our ability to use language and to manipulate things through our language in a very real way. Language, even silent inner language, comes from the sun. The solar force is the sound current. And that's why we say Christ is the Word. I am the Word. In the beginning was the Word. It's the sound made by the solar force. And it's sound that creates light. And it's light that creates matter. And so we understand sound to light to matter. Holy matter. We're reconnecting matter with the original mantras or sounds of creation, which are the tree of life. The tree of life is a vibration, it's a frequency. Every sphere is a frequency with a living sound current and an angelic hierarchy, an angelic force, and a color and a musical note. And, it corresponds to everything from trees to nature to herbs to everything to metals. So all of these carry the living sound current. So I'm just going to take a moment. Okay. I'm just gonna make sure we got enough about so how does this all affect the techno-feminine age? Well, we're in a stage right now where the robots are coming really quickly. And just like with the internet, let's look at what happened when we got the internet. What blew up? What is the biggest industry online right now? I'm just going to ask each one of you to think about that for a moment while I look down. Okay. Ah, so nice to see you, Kim and Shaz. And oh, it's so nice to see everyone. Okay, I'm going to stay with this. What blew up first with the internet? What underworld blew up? Well, the same underworld will blow up with the robots. This is the final stage of the complete, like, once we start to project the dragon current into we already projected into screens, into this, into everything. And we see what's happened in the world with union. It's been really destroyed. Now, when we in Goddess Kabbalah last, we talked a lot about what's happening right now. This is not a right-left issue, although what's happening right now and the administration right now is hugely connected to this. And this is what's happening right now. The techno-feminine age on Friday the 13th, it's happening right now. Everything that's happening is about technology. Everything. The wars being fought, the rearranging of the global, the geopolitical landscape, that is for tech. Make no mistake. They are intertwined. They are the same thing. What's happening in the let's say military industrial complex globally is tech. That is the tech industry. That is the technocracy merging with Silicon Valley, emerging with the space stuff. So so how do we live in these times and not go into fear and not project onto everyone and come up with conspiracies? We step back and we think about what's important and how technology has helped us. We all use Google. Back in the day, it was like, Google, oh my God, no one's going to read books anymore, which is pretty true. And there's going to be a new generation, which is partially true, that don't know how to do research. But we adjusted to it. We always do, just like when we got dishwashers and just like when we got radios and televisions, we adjust and it's good. We want the tech, but the industry that will be most affected will be that industry that removes the Holy Spirit from the act. You have to have a real divine current running through organic human beings to have a vertical pillar. So the rest is horizontal, which is important. But in order to activate what's in the womb of the woman and the heart, all the way to the very core, which is where the soul sparks out from, there has to be an organic heart and an organic connection. And to create the sixth race, those two have to be joined. There has to be the profound power of not just love, but divine love with the act of conception, which is where we're headed. There is going to be a lot of murky period where it's going to be said. It's very hard because it's true that there are people who are lonely that can benefit from having their best friend be an AI. That's true. You know, these are really tricky times because there's elderly people that would love to have a companion. That is true. And yet there is a deep sorrow on the inside. The soul knows the difference. We say the feminine knows the difference. It means the subconscious knows the difference between a human touch. Just take a moment and touch your hand and feel the heat and the warmth and the love. The human hands are connected to the heart. And like if you, for people who do Reiki or any kind of physical healing, your intention that comes from the divine plane flows through you and on. Doesn't mean that there won't be healing modalities and technologies that can easily be handled, but this industry of, you know, the OnlyFans, world and all that goes with that will be catapulted into a new realm. And the lust frequency on the planet will grow, and it will come under its one threat: Eve. One of the very first posts I ever wrote on Art of the Feminine was about how Eve herself is the greatest threat to the archons. She is the Holy Mother, and she carries a link all the way to the cosmic core of the divine Sophia. Eve is a portal for the wisdom, the divine feminine wisdom, and the 13 sphere tree of life. It is her knowledge that can resurrect matter and give birth to the Christ force, the Christic force, in communities, in souls. She can communicate with the land and with the cosmos. Now, we all have an inner Eve, and the men who are sensitive or even just really bright and tuned in and good natured can tap that. Science can be a platform for the angels too. And I want to close on saying that we need technology and spirituality to come together. Some of the men who worked definitely hit on that. That is the truth. But they wanted to bring the science and spirituality together without understanding the mysteries of the mother and the father, or the mysteries of commitment in love. They couldn't be bothered with that, not in a real way, not in a way where there was genuine sacrifice. And this work requires sacrifice, make no mistake. Nobody gets out of here without sacrifice. That what is gained, there are no words for what is gained through the Magdalene mysteries. It is the universe. It's everything. It's love, and it's love for all human beings without condemnation. It's just the ability to see and walk this earth as the divine feminine oracles are working through you. The divine feminine oracles of the divine feminine wisdom school are these 13 spheres. Each sphere is a stream, a cosmic impulse of the divine feminine, translated into the true wisdom of the feminine. Um, from the Temple of Isis, I've shared that. Started to share my story in the last video about going into the Temple of Isis and how the inner stream activated. Okay, does anybody have any questions? I'll look down. So that the telepathic invasion is when it bypasses your conscious mind and hits you with desire or lust, meaning or consumer mode, or when or once the fake females, let's call them fake females, come in, and they're perfect. I mean, these robots, if you've seen some of the conferences, what they look like, what would you expect them to look like? Most of them look like centerfolds. I mean, like, and I mean, okay, I get it. There's nothing like a good Barbie now and then, and there's nothing like a fantasy. That's okay. There's a place for that too. But when we're talking about that becoming the new norm, and to cast that force into something that's not real, you're feeding the beast. It's feeding the matrix. It's feeding the 666. And so real love will be needed to navigate and bring wisdom to these times. I talked to my son about that because he's studied technology deeply, and he's really in it, and like he's got his finger on all of it. So how important it will be to have knowledgeable, wise humans that are consultants for these people, because the tech industry in Silicon Valley, I've listened to quite a few of them extensively. There are some very good people. They are looking for this wisdom. This is the wisdom that Silicon Valley is craving, and they don't know it. The loneliness, the isolation, the madness, like when you see Elon losing their minds because they think they're fighting for the right thing. And some of them feel they're very principled, and some people say that these people are very principled, and perhaps they are in their pursuit, but they don't know what they don't know. And so this wisdom is starting to spread. And so if I work with someone who is going to Apple. I talked to her like a month ago and she said, I'm on my way to Apple and, in San Francisco. And I was like, oh, bring your energy into the building. And oh my God, his name just escaped me. I love the guy who runs Apple, Tim Cook. I love him. I think he's a great guy. And a lot of these guys are, but so approach not with vengeance, but approach with love. We don't have to go out swinging. We can go out, we can offer, what's that called when you offer the dove thing? I forget. My mind's like way in it now. But we could, the olive branch, be the light, be the Christ, and reach out. It's funny that the conspiracy world and the alternative media was so against everything that was happening on the left last time. And what is beyond crazy is that everything that was projected onto the left is happening right now. And if we can't see that, it's just and I'm pretty well informed on some of these issues specifically, and I would say so much of what's put out there is just wrong. It can be fun to create stories and get everyone going and pump the algorithm, but when you put out false stories, that's what I'm talking about. The feminine hierarchies do not support that. They say they'd rather you keep it small and keep it real and draw the true people in than to blast it with half truths. Because that's a recycle. That means you're gonna have to learn that lesson, and it's possible. It is possible to learn, and it's necessary. It's actually really necessary. I'm just laughing, but I'm laughing at human nature. Hijacking the divine feminine movement. So that has happened in the conspiracy world, and so that's what I want to say, that be careful about that world because without the practice, it's not even there. It's not even grounded. If you're gonna listen to someone, make sure it's someone that's genuinely doing it and has lived inside it, because then you're so discerning about what you say. There's no arrogance. There can't be. There's no room for it. Now and then you can blast out with now and then you can make a fierce statement, but it's done with like to make sure that you've got the green light to do it. Okay. The psychic invasion. Okay, so the feminine mysteries, yeah. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions? If I look down, I have some Q&As coming up. There's a lot coming up. I wanted this to be a long one, and for those of you who've been waiting, I have been sending out Goddess. The Holy Descent of Inanna is a profound esoteric course. It's the esoteric stream, and it's the synthesis of all the components that have been built out over many, many years. A lot of work has gone into it. And I had people who were in Holy Descent last year say, I've never come across anything this full and this genuine. And it is the magnum opus, and there will be more. And the Divine Feminine Wisdom School is coming. It's a year-long to year to two, but we're starting right now with a year-long. I'm going to be opening Divine Feminine Wisdom School. It's profound, profound light body yoga, light body tantra, the inner mystery school of divine love, the goddess keys, all of the fertility teachings, all of the archetypal teachings, and it's more content than you can even get to in a year. It's really special. I will be launching that later this summer. So I'm going to look down. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Thank you, Bess. Is it wrong to write my ebooks with ChatGPT as my assistant and editor? I write, organize. Oh, that's an interesting. Okay, with ChatGPT as the editor, so meaning you're writing and then you're using it as the editor. I've only done that twice where I wrote something and had ChatGPT edit it. There's some really good. I mean, I'll just be honest. Actually, I did that twice with an email just to see what it would do because my son was talking about it. And I was like, "Oh, wow, there's some fun stuff." It's kind of like Google or kind of like any formatting software. I don't think it's wrong, but don't let it override the initial impulse that's coming through you, Vess. Like, meaning make sure it's authentic. But if it's going to help you with grammar and now I'm just saying that right off the cuff. Like, I don't condemn it. Like, I think it's got great uses. The AI is so fast, it's crazy. Okay, yeah, it organizes. It's not allowed to write or oh, got it. Okay, yeah, exactly. Not to write or change your words, but to help you with format and beauty and there's some that's really good. I don't have a lot of experience, but what little I played with it, I was impressed. Love this wisdom. Thank you. We must join with the creator. Oh, what was that, Bonnie? V'ger must join with I'll figure it out. Paula, nice to see you. Flavia, Bess. Okay. All right, let's see. I'm just gonna scan and make sure we talked a lot. We're gonna be talking every Friday. So let me just see. I'm gonna thumb through this and see if anything pops in that I want to close with. Star Trek, the movie. Oh, thank you. Yes, yes, yeah. Love it. Love it. Great reference. Sorry, I didn't get it. Just remember, if you're on the spiritual path, you are a practitioner. What does that mean? Let's close with practitioner. A practitioner has a practice. Now, you can say, "Oh, I do a couple things every day." So, if you've ever been in a system where you have a practice, what it does to you is so obvious. So, I'm not talking about something vague like, "Oh, just practice a couple things." What I mean by a practitioner has rituals that they do over and over. Just like in Catholicism, you go to the mass over and over. It's imprinted in your psyche. You say certain prayers over and over. And so that has on the cellular level changed you. A practice changes you. It alchemizes you. So when you like if you've been saying there's people I know who've been saying I am for 12 years in the 7 directions, that practice alone is in their psyche. It's in. I have clients that have called me, they'll be like, I'm like trying to think of what to do. They say, I just say I am. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, just say I am. That's what you do. I am in the 7 directions is the high and holy. It's the very initial, but we have light body yoga is nothing but rituals. And like, but for here, I'm bringing for those, I want to say one thing about my courses. This is really important. I meant to say it at the beginning, hugely important. There are people who come to these videos who have done courses who have done lots of light body yoga, who have done 3-month mentorships, who have done beautiful. I love it. I'm very close to some people through working one-on-one. It's amazing. Am I ever looking to see who's in or who's not doing something or never. Never. I'll tell you why. Because not everyone is meant to be in everything, and some people are everyone has their own plan, and the last thing that I'm meant to ever do is project my desires onto somebody else's path and to be like, "Why aren't they?" Never. So, I'm like, I'll give an example. Someone who I know and like, and who has done a couple courses, when I put up one last fall, said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I can't do that one." No, 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 no. The reason I say that is because I teach and I make my living off teaching. It is my chosen work that puts food on my table and keeps the lights on. It's my actual work. Just like a doctor or a lawyer or any male profession, if you are a woman and you have given your time and energy and knowledge and sacrifice, you should be able to exist on this planet and clothe yourself and feed your children. So that goes without saying. We all need to know that as women. Stop all of the like anything else. You need to be recognized for what you do. I plenty of my work is given, plenty, maybe more than half of it, but the people who come to me are a gift, and I'm saying this for everybody here that teaches. That your presence is the gift, and there's certain times where it's a lifetime where that's not even you're doing something different, and I can see that. So I just wanted to say that because there's certain like right now I'll be talking a lot about Divine Feminine Wisdom School and Holy Descent, and those are powerful, powerful programs if it's your time to be in it. And so I just wanted to say that. There's many, I mean, trust me, there's times in my life where I couldn't do something I wanted to do, and later I was like, I wasn't even meant to do that. So Always live by that. All right. So let's call in Magdalene and just say, Mary Magdalene, on Friday the 13th, the techno-feminine age is upon us, and we know that your wisdom and your archetype, the healed Venus energy, united with the Christic force, speaking boldly and sometimes silently the truths that need to be spoken, living in accordance with nature, with the sun, the moon, and the stars, recognizing that this planet is holy and divine, the animals, the trees, the fishes, the earth, the soil, everything to the tiny insect. The most tiny insect is sacred. Recognize that the earth body is here to provide for us, but we're here to respect the earth and to approach the earth through our heart. And we're here to respect those peoples who live close to the earth and who hold the wisdom of the mother. We are here to honor them and to allow them to be in the space that they require and to not conk them over the head with our idea of what the world is supposed to be. We're here to balance the political stage with our wisdom. We're here to hold a mirror up to the patriarchal religions, not trying to take them down, not trying to beat them. They are our sons. We have birthed them and we respect and honor them as all human beings carry the divine spark, but we are here to continue along the path of the divine feminine awakening, the understanding of love, the understanding that we are not perfect. Here we talk a lot about the womb and the sacredness of conception. Also, we talk about the sovereignty and the sovereign divine feminine of woman having a sovereign rulership over her own vessel. We teach women about the sacredness of their body and the act of conception, but we also hold space for the freedom of the female on this planet, as without that freedom, we dip very quickly into something that's unrecognizable from wisdom. We're here to honor. Actually, let's finish by saying that we are sending our blessings from the stream of Magdalene to those who are underprivileged, those who are suffering, those who are losing loved ones, those who are suffering from starvation, those who feel forgotten, those who walk in a more simple way. We ask that the light of the divine feminine create a deep, deep spark of creativity and joy and knowledge in their hearts so that the meek may inherit the earth, so that they may rise and unify and sing the song of Sophia. The Sophionic wisdom will come from the humble. Those who have been the most tortured will rise and teach us what love is. We pray for this time to come through the Holy Magdalene. And so I'm going to close out for today. In the name of Christ, Sophia, I know there's so much more. It's hard for me to close today because there is so much here, but I will be back next Friday and we'll be doing the Magdalene mysteries. Although when we're going to start focusing in on specific topics, but there is so much here. Is there anything that anyone sees that I just did not talk to? Oh, just join now. Oh, Jack, so nice to see you. I'm going to look one more time because something keeps telling me there's something I haven't said. Oh, I'm gonna share my personal story. Why not? I've got a good one. Okay, wait. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good one to share in the end. This is a personal story. It's a Pluto story. So back in like 2005 or 6, I had my very first and only ever astrology reading. So as I'm an astrologer, but I work through the esoteric and the archetypal. And so I've only had one astrology reading in my life. And it was from a girlfriend's partner who is in Seattle and was a sort of celebrity astrologer, a very good one, an evolutionary was out of evolutionary astrology, which really focuses on Pluto. And I believe she said he was the astrologer of Pearl Jam. Like he was like in sort of, he consulted for the, some sort of like some people who were in that world of art and who were seeking out this knowledge. So when I had my reading with him, and this just tells you a little bit about the Art of the Feminine platform, um, he told me, he said, first of all, he looked at my chart and he was like, oh my God. He's like, I can't believe what you're carrying. And then he said, you have lost your life many times for what you carry in this lifetime. And I haven't had a lot of consulting with spiritual people. I've shared a couple here, but they've all had the same theme. He said, you have been taken out in the most brutal way for what your soul is trying to accomplish. And he said, this is the lifetime that it will happen. He said, you came with Venus right on your midheaven and you're walking the path of Venus. He had no idea of my work. And so just to let you know, I had Pluto and Uranus and conjunct my south node. Now, this is important for this work. My south node is in Virgo. So I've had many, many past lives as the virgin or the priestess or the oracle that had to take vows of purity. In this lifetime, my north node, and that's what rules Art of the Feminine, is in Pisces at the last degree, which is the degree of the integration of the entire zodiac. And it is in the sign of Lilith and the dark feminine and the deep, deep wounding of Lilith. So in this lifetime, it was so easy. And I wore white today in honor of that because I have that virgin energy is natural to me. I went to a school called Assumption that was of the Virgin Mary growing up and was always around the Virgin and the Mother Mary. And I always, growing up, I had Magdalene and the Virgin Mary on my dresser my whole life because I grew up with it. But in this lifetime, I had to get thrown into the darkness, the darkest of the darkness. And it's also, my North Node is in, I've talked about this all the time, the 8th house mysteries of Scorpio, which is the mysteries of the regeneration of the Holy Spirit through the act of partnership and union and the purification of that current. And so that is ruled by Pluto. So for me, like if you don't know your astrology, and we work so much with this in Holy Descent, especially in Holy Descent, because it was about going through all of the archetypes, every one of them, and every planetary body, and then all of the alchemy of the human form, all of it. We put it all together. So I'm having a Pluto lifetime this lifetime, that meaning it's about power, power for the feminine and regeneration of the feminine. But what I came in specifically with my Mars retrograde on the great attractor, my Lilith in Cancer, squaring my Chiron in the sign of Mars. So it's the Mars moon square. And then with these serious nodal points. And then my sun on Lilith, on Algol, because I had many lifetimes of purity and also some Magdalene lifetimes, but and I'm just speaking this for people who are interested in this. If you don't subscribe to that, you can laugh at it. It's fun. It's just for fun. It's a story. So this lifetime was about taking the virgin in and saying, we're going to meet, we're going to shake hands now. You meet me and you and Lilith. Let's do it. So it's a Magdalene lifetime. And it means that all of the work of Pisces and Mars, the moon Mars energy, had to be done. And the founding archetype of the Art of the Feminine podcast was the fallen Mars force for the regeneration of the new human sexual paradigm. For those of you who remember that work, it's really deep. So I just want you to know that we're here for a reason doing this work, and it's not about being the virgin. Even though we want to be the virgin, we're giving birth to it's about giving birth to the virgin. That's what the whole archetype of the divine feminine wisdom school is. This is the esoteric resurrection codes based on the true and authentic feminine mysteries for the age of Aquarius, the age of Venus. And it's been a long, 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 long journey, both scholarly and mystical. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, I just wanted to I'm trying to think if you said anything else. Um, I just thought it was fun to share that. I jotted that down because it was about Pluto, and it was about what has really happened. Like, this feminine energy has been trying to come in for a long time, and, we see the disruptions that come, but we just keep going. We have so much strength now, we just keep going. We just keep going. Oh, wow. That's wild. Shez, that's so wild. I'll just say she said she's felt that power from the first time she heard me speak, which was a long time ago. Wow. It took me a long time to understand it. I have goosebumps right now. It's big, and it's for everyone. We're all in this, and we're allies. Just know we are allies. I'm gonna say one last thing. This is where we're gonna close. When you work in the mysteries, the true mysteries, you have vision on the inner plane, and it's a privilege. Because like our everyone's heart holds things that we're ashamed of or embarrassed of that we would not want other people to know. We all do. Even people teaching at master levels are still we're never fully clean in the underworld ever. We couldn't be here if we were. As someone who's been holding a feminine platform for a long time, and the things that I witness that happen, because I see when you hold an energetic platform, you're responsible for it, and you see who comes and goes, and you see the intention. And this I'm just saying this for all of us to understand this is how we work now. We work as friends. And if there's thoughts we have that aren't right, we just say, "Forgive me. Teach me a better thought. Replace that." That's all we have to do. Because the archons are constantly sending us fear thoughts. That's lower Lilith, competitive thoughts, envy thoughts. I'll get you. I want this. I want to be known for this. I want this. That's not how the masters work at all. The masters are friends and only friends. The age of Aquarius is the age of friendship. If you're a woman and you're carrying bitterness and envy and vengeance secretively and outwardly projecting the light and teaching spiritual principles, but inwardly there's a the desire force is inverted and it's being shot into other females, especially females doing spiritual work with that. Just work with it and work to heal it. We all had to carry that. That is Lilith, threatened by people, wanting things that we haven't quite done yet, or any of that. We all have to carry it. All of it. So this is to everyone. But when you see how we treat each other, it's sad. My only thing now is sadness. In the beginning in my work, I used to feel threatened because I was like, "What do you do about this?" Like, "What you don't," because it's so we all carry so much darkness. It's just part of being here. It's fine. But what I've taught this in some of my courses. Once you get strong and Pluto's activated, that can't touch you anymore. You look at it and you look at it differently. You're like, "Okay, okay, okay." You know that with everything comes a lesson. If we try to bite off something that there's not really the bite we're meant to take, it puts a little stuff inside us that has to move through us. So it's about wisdom, but mostly what can heal that is love and friendship. See everyone as your friend. And if someone's not your friend, leave them alone. Just don't look at them. That's a really good lesson when you get power, because as the more power you get, this is Magdalene, because Magdalene's had more attack than anyone. When you get real power, you understand that what you look at awakens. What you invite into your vision, you ignite. That's why conspiracies can be very dangerous. It's staring into the eye of the devil, and then he has access to you. If something triggers you so bad and makes you crazy, and trust me, I had to go through with several of those that almost took me out. Like that was part of the path of becoming a teacher of this work. And like, I mean, like there was years I was out. And then when once you rise up and you integrate that and you realize there is no threat, you're in your power, you're healing, you're transmuting your own darkness. Pretty soon you understand that you don't have to look at something that's off or not right. Even if it's trying to attack you, don't give it the time of day. Sometimes you have to know about things. Sometimes it's wise to just say, "Okay, I know what's going on here," and then boom, pull your energy back in and stick with the divine feminine wisdom. Keep going with it. And sometimes things trigger us because they hold parts of ourselves, or maybe it was something we used to believe in, and now we're like, "Oh my God!" It's so we all have conflict. We're all conflicted about. It's a hard to be on 3D Earth. I mean, there's times when we're listening to this because we're trying to learn. But so as we go, we want to be careful not to condemn everyone. But there is a lot to be condemned right now. There's a lot happening. So what I wanted to say was leave on the note of friendship. The age of Aquarius is the house of friendship. Once in a real spiritual community, and that we're going to start this community right now. We have our practices, our first two practices. I am in the 7 directions, looking at the sun and take a first breath every morning, look at the sky at night. And the other one is that our code is of friendship and respect. Honor each other. If we need to recognize someone once in a while, that's okay. I want to be really clear, like with my work, if specifically talking about my work, I don't expect people here that come to this work and that are just have their own little things doing. I'm not saying that it has to be that we have to constantly be citing each other. Nothing like that. I'm not talking about that. Some of the things I'm talking about are much bigger. We do it when the heart feels right and when it feels good, never out of obligation. When we lift our sisters and brothers up, it's because it feels right in that moment. We don't feel like just because I was here or there, I have to constantly promote that thing. It's not about that because that brings resentment. And that's not friendship. In friendship, we do things when they spontaneously feel good. And when we give from that place, we get back so much and people can feel it. So I just want to thank all the beautiful, beautiful people, so many high level souls that I've been privileged to be around and work with and feel your loving energy. And I always appreciate every word, every smile. Come back and leave me comments in the comments section. And it was so good to be with you here today. Happy Friday the 13th. I will see you again very soon. And for now, we say blessings from Magdalene. May her holy archetype be your teacher and show you what you have come to do in this lifetime every single day. Bow to you with amen, 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 amen. Thank you so much. I will see you next week.